The House is on the extremity and the verge of passing the worst, most reprehensible, vile de facto bill in American history by far, no question, period, full stop. There is no benefits to this bill whatsoever unless you are within the richest 1%, and mostly above. It's actually the 0.1% who see the huge, abysmal, behemoth benefits from this bill. But it actually hurts the rest. It's not to do with trickle down economics anymore. This is blatantly stealing and flagrantly ripping money and benefits away from the poor and the middle class and even the upper middle class to give to the richest 1%. Nobody is benefiting from this bill. Elon Musk is against it. The public is against it. A lot of big businesses are even against it. Small businesses are certainly against it. Establishment Republicans are against it. Far-right populists are against it. Left-wing populists are against it. Moderates are against it. Progressives are against this bill. So who's this bill really for? Again, it's for the rich, for big, huge companies, companies where CEOs make millions of dollars every day, and further expand on their atrocious wealth that they already have. But what this does is this rolls back and completely guts Medicaid. This comes after Republicans, and just in the last election, promised to leave their hands off of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, but it actually cuts every single one of them. It pretty much decimates food assistance programs. This is going to ultimately kick 17 million people off of their health care through the Affordable Care Act and getting rid of future guarantees that have ensured that these people have health care. And it adds more debt in American history than any other bill ever. Talk about the big spenders. Republicans are the big spenders. And the rest of us, the young generation, particularly me, are going to be debt slaves for the rest of our lives. We're going to be paying back this debt and paying interest on that debt for the remainder of our lives. And for the first time in history, our generation is going to have it worse off than the generation before us and than the generation of our parents had it. This is going to raise significantly and superiorly raise healthcare premiums on the middle class by at least $26,000 a year. And again, food assistance for the poor is going to be completely eliminated. And Democrats actually proposed safeguards for veterans and children so that they are not denied food programs and assistance. But Republicans actually voted that down. So Democrats said, okay, it's looking like we're not going to block this bill. We're not going to impede this bill. We're going to try, and they're still trying right now, but it's looking like it's going to pass. It's going to pass. We gotta be aware of that fact. We gotta be woke about that fact. But Democrats tried to do everything they can to alleviate the horrible effects of this bill and the detrimental effects of this bill by ensuring that veterans their benefits aren't cut. Republicans blocked it. They blocked it. Veterans, people that they say that they stand for. These people do not care about you. And this, my friends, there's already been proof, but this is the final line. And this is, an indelible mark on our nation's history. We've never seen anything like this. We've never seen a president who is so divisive, who is so careless, who is so reckless. He's willing to abandon every one of his campaign promises to lower grocery prices, lower rent, make affordability more accessible, to make it so where people aren't coming in and invading our country illegally when he's actually deporting legal immigrants. And there's so much in this bill that we don't even know about. That's why the GOP is rushing this, is trying to U-Haul this bill and hurl it in as fast as they can, because they don't want us to get any glimpse of what this bill entails. And for right reason. It's because it is deeply, deeply unpopular. There is so much contempt with this bill. In fact, there's a poll that 78% of Americans oppose this bill. And Chuck Schumer actually, this doesn't help anything, But I mean, it does help with not misleading and misguiding people as much. But he proposed a resolution to make sure that this, if it does end up passing, which it's going to, that it is not called the One Big Beautiful Bill, because it certainly is not one big beautiful bill. It is an ugly bill, and any American can tell you that. Any person at home can tell you that if they understood and really scoped a lot of the things that it's in this bill. They would know that it is absolutely abysmal. So again, this is housing assistance rollbacks. This is cutting of child tax credit. This is ramping up ICE activity to make it so ICE basically replaces undercover police officers. So there could be ICE agents in our streets and our communities, which there already are. I mean, Donald Trump deployed the military in Los Angeles without any approval or checks and balances with the governor of California. But now we are actually going to be seeing ICE people and ICE around our communities and disguised as undercover or people, and everyday Americans are going to be ICE agents. And of course, this is very, very increased deportations and workplace rates, which will ultimately raise vegetables cost, and they're already going up. They've always went up because of tariffs. People are losing their jobs because of tariffs. I talked to a woman here at Subway in my hometown. 75% voted for Trump hometown today, and she said that her husband actually lost her job because of tariffs, because they're getting rid of workers because they can have cheaper labor in China instead of having to pay the tariffs, because we pay the tariffs. The companies, the small businesses, and the big businesses pay the tariffs on other countries, and then they pass that on to the consumer. So that way people have to get laid off of their jobs because of Donald Trump's regressive tariffs and the rubber stamp of tariffs. But this is really frightening. This is really fretful, and it's so despondent. It's not. There's nothing good about this bill. And I even ask AI, you can literally ask anything, and it says that the middle class will be paying more because of this bill. 99%, about 90 to 99% of Americans will see their taxes, their federal taxes, and many other things increased, as well as things that they have relied on completely slashed, completely eradicated and extirpated. And also, again, this increases the national debt by like $5 trillion over the course of the next 10 years. And it's funny we see this because with Doge, that was supposed to help, and it didn't. We already know that. It didn't help at all. It was a distraction to use undercover, projective tactics to try and, sneak things under the Resolute desk. But yeah, this is... higher food prices are expected. And it gives me an example on here about a 10 to 20% drop in migrant farm labor will cause fresh produce prices to spike by 5 to 10% at least. So think about that when you go to the store next time and you're paying, $10 for a little thing of strawberries. And also Medicaid cuts completely wipes out Medicaid's. Millions will lose coverage. Housing and utility costs, rent prices will rise, especially in poor communities, which already cannot afford rent. They can't afford anything already, but it's going to be. The goal is to get rid of the poor, kill the poor, and make the middle class the poor, and eventually kill them. So there's only a bunch of rich elites in charge, and that's exactly what's happening. That's precisely what is going on. It is the rich versus the poor. Donald Trump, Mike Johnson, all of these other unscrumptiously, inexplicably corrupt and absolutely ruthless people, vicious people, only want two classes in America, and that is the ultra super mega rich and everybody else, which is the poor. That's the goal. That's the goal here, because we wouldn't see it become this extreme if it wasn't the goal. This is a huge step further. This is so deeply, it's rooted within our bedrock that this is so unpopular that two Republicans, I think it was Don Bacon and Tom Tillis, Senator Tom Tillis, and Representative from Nebraska, Don Bacon, have actually announced that they will be retiring because of this bill. They are not running for re-election because of this bill, because the Republicans have blatantly abandoned their voting bloc. And who said this was going to happen? I did. I said this was going to happen. I said it all along. I read the Institute on Economic Policy and showed that if the 99% of Americans would actually have their taxes reduced if Kamala Harris was president under her proposed tax plan, while about 95% of Americans would actually see a raise in taxes under Donald Trump's plan. And look where we are. Look where we are. But I can't say anything else besides I told you so, and this is your fault and not mine. Not the people who voted for Kamala. It's the people who voted for Donald Trump and the people who decided to, stand on the sidelines and be bystanders and not vote at all, who are going to be momentously hurt by this piece of legislation as well. So it's very erroneous. It's diabolical. It's despicable. It's fiendish. There's so many words that we can describe it, but people aren't going to really understand that until it affects them. This is the tax burdens, tax cuts for wealthy, deregulation of big corporations. People are worried about that there's going to be slug in the air, that people are not going to be able to breathe clean and non-polluted air, simply because that there's going to be a massive deregulation on big corporations and big businesses that doesn't provide any oversight so they can emit as many fossil fuels as they want into our atmosphere, and it's going to be hard to breathe. Our water could be contaminated, but they don't care. This is exactly what I've been trying to say all along, that Donald Trump does not care about the people. He's an establishment elitist. He's not no populist. He is an establishment, corrupt, self-serving billionaire, real estate mogul. And that's what he's always been. That's what I said. Everybody says, oh, he's anti-establishment. He's the least anti-establishment president we have ever had. This also actually punts states from their rights. Talk about, oh, we should be about states' rights and we should be about city rights. No. They don't ensure the protections that states previously had to actually combat AI, artificial intelligence, from spiraling out of control. So if we see robots taking control over in the next couple years, or we see videos where people are actually getting convicted of crimes that they didn't commit because of an artificial intelligence generated video depicts them doing so, that you can remember exactly where it came from. And ultimately, this past 50-50, Vance broke the tie, and I've said this all along. Vance is a spineless turncoat. He is the most timid, most fake politician, stooge, puppeteer, politician there ever was. He took a huge 180. He said that back in 2019, he said that he was criticizing Donald Trump for trying to get rid of Obamacare. And now he's the one who is singly getting rid of health care for 17 million Americans and other things. SNAP benefits, they're completely wiping it out. Cancer research, and people, so think about this when your elders are dying in the hospital because there's no research being done, because we're cutting that and gutting that, and you're not getting that money back. Like I said, it's going to the rich, it's going to big corporations, because all of your money is going to be diminished in the fiscal years to come. But also think about the fact that your grandparents, when they are on the brink of death, are not going to have health care. They're going to be kicked off of their health care. People who are disabled, who cannot work, who cannot physically or enably go to work because they're critically ill and disabled mentally and physically, so that way they are impaired from working. They're going to have their benefits severely cut. and my grandma knows this. My grandma works for disabled people. There's somebody, one of her clients got a check for $26 for groceries last week. And this is already without this bill actually going into effect yet. This is with the pre-bill, with Donald Trump's Medicaid cuts already. She received $26 for groceries. Who the fuck can buy groceries for $26? $26. You're supposed to have a month's worth of supply for food for $26. That's dystopian, my friends. That's draconian at its max. This is not the America that I was raised in. This is not the America that I live up to. This is not of the people, for the people, and by the people. This is of the billionaire class, for the billionaire class, and of the billionaire class. This is not for everyday Americans. You walk outside and you will see somebody who will be hurt by this bill. And most likely they voted for Trump. I don't know. I don't even know if we're going to be able to vote in the next couple elections. We might be able to, and I'm not going to be surprised if we will, but I wouldn't be surprised if we wouldn't be able to vote in the next couple of years, because this is overreach at its very pinnacle, at the topping point. But yeah, if you make under, what is it? Yeah, the top 20% and up, richest 20% and up, are the only ones that are going to be seeing either marginal and minimal tax cuts or huge tax cuts. The 80%, the remaining 80%, the rest of us are going to be seeing a decrease of our money, of our annual money. It's going to be going more to the government, our money that we work for, and we're going to be paying more, contributing more to the government. But it's not going to be for things that are nugatory, or that are completely necessary, like again, like Social Security, Medicare, 401k. It's not going to be that. It's going to be given to the rich. And I don't know how this is manageable. It's so critiqued. It's so intentional, that they're willing to go and scope all of this, and do everything they can to make the effects more disastrous and destructive than anybody in history. And the largest corporations and estates, and it's Donald Trump. Donald Trump is doing this because he knows he will be benefited by this. That's why he's doing it. He cares about himself, and that's it. Anybody who even says anything remotely bad about him, he completely exiles him from the party. He says they're a rhino. He's the rhino. He's the rhino. This is not the party of Republican fiscal responsibility. This is the party of bigotry. This is the party of carelessness. This is the party of sinisterism, and the party of pure evil, pure depravity. And another member who actually is at fault for letting this bill pass was Senator Lisa Murkowski. I never liked her. I never did. But I will say that she always comes out at the last minute, acting like she's poised to save us all and reject Donald Trump and be the one Republican who stands up against it all and joins Democrats to help save America, democracy. And so does Susan Collins, and so does a couple others. They're turncoats too. They never care. They're not moderates. They've never been moderates. They've always been pro-billionaire, anti-working class, anti-middle class, henchmen for Donald Trump. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And Lisa Murkowski was actually pulled aside and bribed. J.D. Vance, it's rumored that J.D. Vance actually convened with Lisa Murkowski to get her to vote for this bill, in exchange for her state, and her state alone, not having to deal with this. I'm not lying. They actually excluded Alaska from going under effect of this bill. They excluded it. High energy costs, all of it. High taxes, high grocery prices, high rent, high housing, you name it. Alaska was excluded from that, and she voted for the bill because of that reason, because her state and her state alone got taken out. Won't be seeing the devastating effects of this and impacts of this horrendous bill, of this spiteful and sordid bill. So that's corruption. That's blatant corruption. Lisa Murkowski is horrible, to say the least. I do not have enough words to describe how much of a betrayal this is to the American people, and how much people at home are going to be suffering and are not going to have food, are not going to have enough food for their family, while the rich can buy more yachts, buy more mansions, buy anything they want, send their kids to the best private, prestigious universities and colleges all around the world, the best schools around the world, while the rest of us flounder and get left in the dust. So that's what happened. This went back to the House. It's going to pass the House one way or another. They might take a couple things out, but it's still going to be the worst bill in American history, and that's by far the worst bill in American history. People are already saying that. But I hope you're happy, Senator Lisa Murkowski. Even she said that she didn't want the bill to pass, but she voted for the bill. She's trying to gaslight us into believing and manipulate us into believing that she was not a counterfeit to Donald Trump and did not suck up and was not a bootlicker to MAGA. She's trying to spin it, act like she didn't vote for the bill. She just voted for the bill, and she says that she doesn't want the bill to pass. She's hoping that the Senate or the House strikes it down, even though she voted to authorize the bill. It wouldn't have went any further if she would have just voted no. And J.D. Vance wouldn't have had to break the tie, because it would have been a 51-49 rejection of this bill. But that's my take on it. I'm not sorry if this is harmful. I warned you. I am sorry for all the Kamala Harris voters. I am sorry for all the people who knew that this was going to happen, who've said it all along, who have tried to warn your peers, but they decided to look directly at you and ignore you, to overlook it, to say, oh, you're wrong, my taxes will go down if Donald Trump is in office. Kamala, or Camila as they like to call her, because they're a bunch of sexist pigs and misogynist deplorables. But they said that Camila's plan is going to make our taxes go higher and make grocery prices go higher. That's just not how it is. It's intentional that what Donald Trump is doing. Every accusation is a confession, but to a very, very elevated extent, to a swollen extent. So Donald Trump, for example, says that, Kamala Harris will raise your taxes. Then Donald Trump, when he gets elected, proceeds to raise your taxes by $2,000, $3,000 annually a year, while making the rich, wiping off about, I seen a certain tax bracket will actually get like $50,000 knocked off of their annual income, so they won't have to pay $50,000 every year. $50,000. Do you know how much that would be the world to so many people who are poor, who are struggling, who are at the bottom, who are in the middle class? And it's not work your way up. That's not what it is, because CEOs make about 400 times the annual salary as their workers. The CEO to worker-employer ratio is like 400 to 1. That's not okay, and it's never been okay. We need the most, I would even say radical, progressive, liberal Democrat to be our nominee in 2028. And we need to win. We need to reverse every single one of this. We need to take back all the chambers, the Senate. We need to have like a 53-plus Democratic majority. We need to have a 300 majority in the House of Representatives, and we need to dig down deep. We need to do some serious reversals and some serious examinations into what's happening, and knock all of this stuff out and make it so where the rich actually pay more, because it should be the opposite. The richest 1% should be paying a shit ton more, and the 99% of us should be seeing the benefits. That's how it is. And we might need to run Zohran Mamdani in 2028. We really do. And people, he's really popular. He's like woefully popular. And it's because that people are sick and tired of being gaslit and being sick and tired of being bamboozled time and time again by this administration. He said he wouldn't go to war. He went to war. He said that gas prices they're under $1. He's trying to tell us that gas prices are under $1. Are you serious? Gas prices are under $1? Gas prices are over like $3 in every single state. And with this bill, with the oil and the adjustments with that, energy costs are going to go up. Fuel is going to, because blackouts are going to be more common. I just wrote an article that said blackouts are probably going to be more prevalent because of this bill. And people are going to be left in the dark, literally left in the dark. But I hope you're happy with what you voted for. I hope you can look at me in the eye and tell me this is what I voted for, because it is certainly not what I wanted. It is certainly not what I voted for. I voted for Kamala Harris. I didn't vote because I'm not old enough to vote, but I supported Kamala Harris. I donated $50 to her campaign. I made videos every single day for her. Okay, I really wanted her to win, and for good reason. I was striving. I was endeavoring. I was venturing. And pouring my entire whole heart and soul and passion into making videos for her, and it did nothing. They rigged the election. We'll say that. They rigged the election, because that's what they did. That's what Elon did. He rigged this election. So we're doomed. We're done.